Technology can do many things for us, but that's not the right question. I like to differentiate between what we are able to do and what we are allowed to do. So for example, you may use some type of enterprise tool to perform data collection. And say, for example, your regional headquarters are in Singapore and you need to collect some data in a neighboring country, such as Malaysia or Thailand or Indonesia. So many times, if you simply view that data remotely, you're in breach of some regulation. This is particularly the case in the banking sector. We've been in discussions with many of our clients for whom we do work. We host data for some of the banks. The data can't leave Singapore because of the Banking Secrecy Act. Therefore, it needs to be collected, processed, and hosted here in Singapore and reviewed here before it's sent overseas for whatever reason, whether it's litigation or regulatory inquiry. We had a number of matters in relation to the LIBOR investigations a few years ago, and they are still ongoing. So those clients now came back to us and asked us, can you help us collect data in other countries outside of Singapore, such as, let's say, Korea? Said, yes, we can do it, but are we allowed to do it? And we're talking with the investigators, and we tell them, you need to go and speak to your general counsel, and they need to get legal advice from an external counsel to understand what they can and cannot do. So for one bank, for example, we advise them, yes, you can make use of this technology, which we're very familiar with. However, that forensic image, they were collecting the usual emails and electronic documents. That image needs to stay in country. It can't leave prior to it being reviewed. In other jurisdictions, such as China, for example, even if you view a document from outside China and it falls under, let's say, the famous State Secrets Act, that's a breach already. Even though technically it hasn't been exported, the view from the authorities is that it has. So that's a big problem. Many of the technologies that are sold to MNCs, in particular in HQ in the United States or say Australia or Europe, don't take into account these jurisdictional issues, these regulatory issues. Then they don't take into account the underlying infrastructure. So for example, when I attended Legal Tech last, I was talking to a number of software companies that were promoting their cloud collection software. And I said, that's all fine if, let's say, you're based in New York and you're collecting from Chicago. But what if you're based in New York and you're collecting from Bandung in Indonesia? Bandwidth issues alone will cause a major problem. We have one client in the pharmaceutical industry that uses one of these enterprise forensic tools, and he's trying to image a laptop, and he said it took him 2 weeks to do it. So it's really bringing back to, what am I able to do? What am I allowed to do? That's the first point I wanted to make. The second point is, what do I think I'm able to do? If the technology allows me to do it, but trying to, let's say, collect 500 gigabytes from China to Singapore, even if I'm allowed to do it, it's just going to take forever. People go home. Imaging 500 gig over a wide area network is just completely unrealistic. So what we're seeing, where clients are adopting such technologies in-house, and that has been a trend for a while, they're really adopting it per country. So for example, you may have somebody here in Singapore, because we all lack qualified staff and resources, hence why they tend to call us in to backfill on their engagements. They are remote. They're doing a VPN connection to a collection tool in country, collecting in country, encrypting it, and if allowed, they are shipping it back to Singapore or Hong Kong, wherever they're based, or Australia, to then conduct their analysis, as opposed to having one implementation across every single country in the world. It's just it's just not realistic. So really, that's what we're seeing with regards to technology now. Cross-border is it's a big problem for everyone, and we thought that the EU and the United States had settled everything with the safe harbor. So now that that's been struck down by the European Court of Justice, if I'm not wrong, where does that leave Asia? Asia always tends to look at the Europe and the EU when moving the adoption of technology in legal practice and investigations. So that's probably going to put a big break on any plans there may have been to implement any cross-border agreements with regards to the deployment of technology and so on. Cloud is very, very popular in Asia, of course, but again, the issue I always ask is, where is your data? Are you allowed to put that data in the cloud? Yes, if it's in my country. So take, for example, Indonesia, where, if I'm not wrong, the National Bank of Indonesia mandated that all Indonesian customer data must remain in Indonesia. It can't be hosted in another country. So over the last 10 years, we've had this trend of technology whereby we have cloud, it's so easy, it's synced across all our devices, but now the regulators have caught back up and said, whoa, hang on, you're not allowed to do that. So an interesting conversation I had with with two different people, one working within a bank, one was a lawyer in a British law firm based in Hong Kong. When are we not allowed to export data? So the person working at the bank said, well, if I'm putting up my canteen menu, that can go in the cloud, but customer data, credit card details, no, don't think so. And it's the same conversation I had with the lawyer. I said, look, we're assisting your firm on this regulatory matter for one of your clients. You want to have it, we've collected it, you want it processed and hosted. And she said, okay, thanks very much, but the client and us have decided to put that into our own platform in the UK, and we have our review team in Belfast. I was like, really? I didn't realize you could send that. I said, well, it's not clear cut, it's not black and white, so there are always exceptions to the rule. So it will eventually sort itself out, but right now I'm seeing the regulators putting a brake on the adoption of cloud technology, in particular in regulated industries. Maybe not so in let's say manufacturing, for example, or logistics, but certainly in banking, certainly in other financial services industries like insurance, hedge funds. Extraction industries are getting a long hard look by the regulators as well.